So welcome, Dhyan Ji, to our chat, our conversation about waking up and the spiritual path, journey, and life in general. And
Hi.
hi, hi,
Hi.
hi.
Hi, John. Thanks for inviting me.
Great. And just very briefly, you just want to share what you do now. What's your main journey?
The things that I'm doing now are working with people one to one. I'm organising events. I'm offering darshan and healing. I'm also teaching Reiki to people. So really, all of my work that I'm doing now is about helping people awaken and on their spiritual journey and self-development, self-awareness, and having the tools to help themselves ultimately to empower themselves.
Yeah, sure. Great, wonderful. So just going back in time, when would you say you woke up, or did you have any experiences when you were younger that showed you that maybe things aren't as they seem, that things you were being told by parents, friends, teachers, whatever, things aren't like that in your world? Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So I guess I've got some very unusual memories from when I was really little, but one of them that really sticks out is when I was at school when I was 6, and I was actually being bullied, being picked on, and somebody had written um, something on the wall at school, and I'd really taken it to heart and got really upset and angry about it. And I moved away from the playground to another part of the playground behind the school on my own, just to be on my own in my own space. And I was really, really upset and didn't really know what to do with myself and just felt like I was being excluded and couldn't understand why these children were being so nasty. And I just stood there, and as I stood there crying, feeling really upset, all of a sudden I could feel this breeze around me, the wind moving around me. And being a child, I just started to play, and I asked the breeze to blow, and it did, and I asked it to stop, and it did. And I realised that there was this interaction happening with the space around me that I was a part of. And I looked up at the trees, and they were moving, and I felt like they were part of this, and the sky was part of this. And I noticed that there was something very magical happening, and immediately my fear, my upset, my anger, my frustration as a 6 year old child and started to subside, and I started to get into a space of peace and calm, and this beautiful interaction happened with the whole world around me, and it was just so playful, so innocent, so lovely. And I really recognized that, hang on, this is me. I'm a part of this. So everything around me is a part of me, is moving with me, is helping me, supporting me in some way. Obviously, I didn't have the vocabulary of that at that age, but I was very aware that there was some magic happening and that I was
Mm,
very much a part of this magic. And to be able to interact with the wind and the breeze and to feel it calm me and to move and to stop, it was very, very beautiful. And I then got this passion to be a magician. That's what I wanted to do as a kid. And I went to my parents and I said, I really want to learn magic. How do you do magic? But the magic that I wanted to learn and the magic that I'd experienced were actually two very, very different things. And the magic that I'd experienced would not be something that I could learn from a magician in actual fact.
Yeah, yeah. Playing with the elements.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. So you had some of these experiences, and how did that make you feel? Because often people feel a bit different than other people,
Yeah.
and that can have its own challenges.
I've always felt very different, like I'm not from this planet.
Hmm.
And obviously, if I would have said that to people years ago, they'd have thought I was crazy. But now it seems quite normal. Thank God. um, but yeah, when I was little, I had all kinds of experiences, and it actually wasn't long after that experience at school that I was taken out of school. And as a 7 year old, I went to live in Rajneeshpuram in Oregon, in America, which was Osho's community there at the time. And I spent 3 months there. And I spent a lot of time on my own. And I do feel now I've got the hindsight with everything that happened, is that it was a time for me to integrate those experiences and to deepen into that experience. And also, it was a time for me to learn meditation and to learn from lots of different people around me and to be in nature, because we were literally in the Oregon desert in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Hundreds of us all wearing very bright colours and malas and
Yes, but in a way you were
yeah,
very fortunate that you didn't go through the normal education system, which some people will say there's a lot of indoctrination and people are not taught to think, but told more what to believe and this is how things are and not to question. Whereas from what I can gather, Otto is the opposite. He wants you to question and wants you to find your own truth.
absolutely. Yeah, I was given an opportunity. I'd obviously been in school for a short time and then found myself in Rajneeshpuram for 3 months with my family. And it was an opportunity to learn about myself, to learn about life, to be very much in nature and yeah, to experience what it meant to be literally living with hundreds of other people. You know,
Yeah,
we would have,
community, the huge community.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, in community, and there was a theme from then on that community became very much a part of my life. In there were many stages, and especially now, many stages in my life where I lived in community or created community because that's what I knew and that's what I'd come to know and love, was being around other people, like-minded people, meditating, eating healthy food.
Mm.
And I no doubt this is also why I create the events that I create, because those are the foundations of that, is getting people together, eating together, discussing things together, creating a space of harmony and peace and love, actually. Yeah.
Yes, it's one of the, again, another challenge on the spiritual path, this kind of path is finding people that have similar outlooks, similar views, that are also waking up or awake. And because otherwise it can be very lonely if for many people going through the usual, or what could be called the normal system, um, to feel different is very difficult. Um, so, so this finding your soul group or your tribe, as people call it, I think is
Mm.
another key, isn't it, to um, yeah, to evolving, but also being able to share experiences that many other people might say are weird or odd, or just ignore you or you're a freak, that kind of thing.
Mm. Absolutely, and I went through a process of um, having that experience as a 6 year old, having another awakening when I was very much in a state of stress and upset and very much in my head. In 2012, I had an awakening that took me into 12, I call it my bliss phase, 12 months of just being in bliss. That would just came to me one afternoon when I was just on my hands and knees and praying to God to show me another way to live. And I knew I wasn't going to take my own life. I knew that, but I didn't want to continue the way that I was living because I was living in four walls. My life was very small. There was not much expansion happening, or didn't appear to be, and I was just suffering all the time. You know, after a breakup of a relationship, bringing up a very young child on my own, there were a lot of stresses, and the relationship was also affecting me after the breakup. So it was, yeah, it was a really difficult time, and I found this incredible space of peace, of bliss, and felt so grateful because within 24 hours of being on my hands and knees and praying, and now what I recognize to be totally surrendering my entire life and will and everything to God in those moments, not in a way of now I surrender, but in a way of, right, I'm on my hands and knees, I am surrendering from the deepest part of me to something more than me. And yeah, then I found myself in this space of bliss, and was
Yeah, it's interesting with suffering, isn't it? Often suffering is the biggest breakthrough. And one thing I think if more people knew that suffering in it is to be embraced, not that doesn't mean it's going to make you happy or going to enjoy it, but
yeah,
the less resistance there is, the more, no, I can get through this. This is for a reason. This is for a purpose, and and it will pass. You know, even this will pass because a lot of people is trying to fix the suffering. You know, this is wrong. I don't like this. I must fix myself. I must do something. Whereas just the allowing of it, and from that, it sounds like you know, just surrender. You know, because in order to surrender, there's no resistance. There's like
absolutely,
a real letting go, isn't there? Like give
absolutely.
it all to God, spirit, whatever. Let it go, let it go. Not easy to do when it's really intense.
No,
But that's really fascinating that you. It sounds like you managed to do such a deep surrender that,
yeah,
ooh,
I did. It didn't come from the mind at all. There was no, I need to surrender now.
yeah,
There's none of that. It was just a full being letting go, knowing that I was at the end of what I recognized that I could do about anything. It was
mm,
just literally
mm,
handing everything over. And then a few days later, I went into a very deep meditation, and I was given the words, "It's time to start a group." And I was given the name of the group, and that's how my Utopia events were born, through
yeah,
that. And in 2013, I'd organised a guest speaker to come and talk to the group. And I wasn't really talking in the groups very much at all. I was just asking people to speak, and I would just sit there quietly and not really say very much at all. Um, and yeah, in 2013, I then had this chat with this lady on Skype, and we fell into the space between words, into the space of meditation. We were trying to organize things, and we just started to fall about laughing because we couldn't focus. And this beautiful joy just bubbled up from that space. And the reason that I asked her to come and speak was because she was offering satsang, and I knew in my heart that was something that I wanted to offer other people, but I didn't know that I could offer it, if that makes sense. So I brought in somebody that I knew could offer what I wanted to share, but didn't have the words to share at the time. And then from that connection on this laptop, actually, um, we we found a space of we found this space of meditation. And when I closed the laptop, my entire world had completely changed. And I picked up the cup of tea that was by the side of me, and I looked into the cup, and the whole universe was inside this cup. And I wondered what on earth was going on, you know. And I recognized that there was no separation between me, the tea, and the cup. And then I looked in the mirror that was to the side of me, and I could see myself looking at myself from outside of my body. So I was having these very fast realizations, just coming in so quickly. And then, and also at this point, I was thinking, what is in my tea? Like, what is going on? And
Yeah, you got a cup of the universe instead of a cup of tea.
And I stood up, and all the walls in my room started to vibrate and move around me, and then literally just like disappear. And as I was watching all of this, I wasn't in a space of fear. I was like a child in wonder, just completely mesmerized by the whole thing. And as the walls started to move and vibrate, then everything just disappeared. And I was left in a place of nothingness, no thingness, where there was nobody to experience anything apart from this pure consciousness, this pure space of awareness. And I recognized that in this space of awareness, I saw the mind for what it is, which is a source of all suffering. I also recognized that something had happened and I had come home to myself. It felt like coming home, but not your house, but home to your own being, home to something you've always known but didn't realize that you'd forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognized that I wasn't any of the things that I thought I was. I wasn't my name, I wasn't my personality, I wasn't my body. There was also no possible way for me to die, because I recognize myself as limitless consciousness. And I also saw that there was nothing and nobody else here. So I was very much plunged into the space of the one, the oneness of God. And tears came, laughter came, all kinds of emotions came up to, because I felt so much gratitude in my being that I had been able to remember this truth and see through the illusion that so many of us are caught in every day, every moment, and have no way of seeing out of. And I was able to see through to the truth of everything, and then started the process not long after that of trying to figure out what on earth happened to me and what everybody was doing. Like, why were people arguing about stuff? Why was there politics? Like, there were so many questions of what on earth were people doing with their lives? Why were they putting all their attention onto these meaningless things that had no meaning whatsoever, or just completely rubbish, and I really had to integrate this experience back into life and adjust to knowing myself as the infinite being that I am, that we are, that all that is. And it was a real process because my whole world, all these cards of beliefs and conditionings and ideas about everything that I am, everything that everybody saw me as, everything that my life was as I knew it, was not the truth
Mm, mm.
at all, on a
And it,
very
and what,
foundational level.
yeah, and what's interesting is it's not like you could have planned for that experience. You know, it just
No,
happened. You weren't expecting it. In a way, it came out of nowhere, came out
yeah,
of no thing, and
yeah,
and yet it changed everything. And I think this is a
yeah,
very good message for people that might feel they're getting nowhere on the path, or it's really hard, it's really tough, and there's
mm,
all these problems. And yet, with doing the practices such as meditation and meeting like-minded people, community, and just just moving forward slowly but surely on the journey. And then at any moment, absolutely any moment, grace can come in and change everything. And
absolutely.
and it's very interesting what you said, about the integration, because that's not the end of it. But sometimes people think, enlightenment, bang,
Yeah,
I've got it, I'm now Jesus or Buddha or whatever. Life's
yeah,
going to be so easy from now on. But it's not like that, because there's still the human, there's still the mind's still there, even if the
yeah,
mind is seeing things differently. The
yeah,
emotions are still here, the physical body's still here, there's still illness sometimes or whatever,
mm,
there's still viruses or whatever. But then that integration, so that's quite interesting about the integration. So this adjustment, how did you move through that? Was that difficult, or did you just go with the flow?
yeah. I
Hmm.
guess it was a bit of a shock.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah.
It was a bit of a shock, but a beautiful shock. I reckon I was so. I can't even describe the gratitude that I felt about what I'd experienced, and I kept asking myself the question, why me? Why me?
Mm,
What's so special about me? Why did this happen to me? And there was a very, very clear, over time, there was a very clear understanding that this happened to me, the idea of me, because it was available to everybody. And God wanted me to know that, having had Osho as my teacher as such from a very young age, that it isn't that the master is the only one, it's that he is an example of the truth of your soul. So it's not to see the master as somebody who needs to be, um, it's recognizing that the master is within you.
right,
And
yeah.
that's why the
Mm,
master shows up in the first place, because the master is simply showing you who you are. So,
mm,
not to get confused between the personality of the master and the truth of who you are. And it's the same with Jesus, not to forget that Jesus was also a human being, a man with, challenges just like we all have. But it was his soul, his awakening, that he wants others to recognize within their own being, that he's a reflection of that. So we don't when we pray to God, we are praying to the master within each and every single one of us. We are praying to the one that awakens us.
yeah, it's like a mirror. And when the mirror's
Yes.
clear, there's no ego on it, no dust, just the
Yeah.
ego. Then that reflection can come through the love, through the heart, unconditional, and then it can really be felt and known. And that, it's very interesting what you say there, that this is available to everyone, that
Yes.
no one is, it's not about being special, is it? It's just,
No.
it's just, it's
It's
the
the most
truth.
ordinary, it's the most ordinary, beautiful thing. And it's not even an awakening. It's a
Mm,
remembering. You
yeah.
are remembering who you are at the foundational level of your soul,
Hmm.
that you are
Mm,
this eternal consciousness that is continuously experiencing and being reborn and experiencing the expansion of your soul
yeah.
as the
Yeah.
one, you know.
And often the mind can try and make something of this, especially the ego, because often the mind is in separation. So, so there can be quite what seems like a battle in the mind, like, either the mind, or you're not good enough to have this experience which you've just been sharing with us, or all sorts of things that go on in the mind, and generally it's resistance, isn't it? And what's coming to me is about that, like these experiences blow the mind.
Yeah,
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 because the mind, there's nothing wrong with the mind. The mind's just doing what it's always done, which is
yeah,
living in separation. So the thoughts in the mind are often suffering thoughts because they're about ego, which is separation, which is there's me and there's everything else. But what you've just described to us is there is no separation.
no,
Everything is one.
yeah,
Everything is God. Everything is love. Everything is essence. Everything is spirit. And once that foundation has been, you've gone deep enough into that foundation, and there's nothing you can do to make that happen. But it is, as you say, it
yeah,
is our birthright. It is our that remembrance. It's
yeah,
always there. It's always there, and it's not about believing it or not believing it. That doesn't matter.
no.
That's the truth, and that's it. So,
And yeah, what I like
yeah.
to say is that people become ripe. They become like fruit on a tree,
Mm,
and at the perfect moment, then they will fall with grace into this recognition.
yeah,
And so it's a happy accident,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
it can seem like that. Again, there's from the human from the human, it's an happy accident. From the divine, it just is,
Yeah,
and the other thing maybe to mention is it's beyond time and space.
yeah,
So it is only now, isn't it? There's only the present moment. That experience was in the present moment.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so any meditation, anything that anybody uh, does to help create this opportunity for this accident, they're simply just making themselves accident prone, you know. So
Like an invitation, isn't it? Like
yeah, yeah,
by
they're
mm,
giving an invitation to
a great
to
invitation
truth,
to the divine
to
to come through, yeah, to the truth,
yeah.
which is our own
Um,
nature. Mm.
for about 12 months after that, um, I I didn't know what to do with it, you know.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't know. I didn't know if I was supposed to share the experience, if I was just supposed to keep it to myself. I didn't really understand what actually had happened. Um, and as I integrated it, I began to recognize that yes, I did need to share it. And actually, that now there was something embodied in this body that was also able to offer that to, not even in a conscious way, but all of a sudden people were coming to me, contacting me, and we were um, I was offering them that presence, that opportunity to fall into that knowing of themselves on the deepest level. And I wasn't doing this from trying to do anything, just simply from being that, from recognizing that, from the deep self realization. That's where that word comes from. Realizing this, realizing you are the self is the one, the self is God. So having that self realization, to see yourself with real eyes instead of the illusion that we have been taught and conditioned to believe that is all around us as this matrix that we experience on a day-to-day basis. And this is the freedom, this is where the freedom comes from, is to recognize ourselves as beyond the matrix. You know, we exist before any of this around us exists.
Yeah. So when you did the darshan, because I know you do meetings, don't you, where people come along and they sit in front of you. I've been to one, and you just simply, you're very present and you look into the person's eyes. And I suppose the idea is to be the perfect mirror. You know, that darshan I know comes from India, and it means similar to blessing. You might be able to expand on that a bit. But also I feel like there's also a transmission, there's an energy exchange, or there's a sharing, even if you could just say a shared moment, but that shared moment is special in that it's enabling that oneness to be even more present than usual.
It's what I was saying before about the master. It's to recognize yourself, you know, that the master is not separate from you. They are the truth of your being. So when you're sat in front of anybody having darshan, the purpose of that is to recognize yourself as that, is to see yourself as the master within your own being, to see yourself as God that you are, to realize yourself as the self.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like when you're really clear, when you're looking, you're doing that eye to eye, you know, so the eyes are the windows to the soul.
Yes.
And just going as deep as is
so there's an opportunity in that to see not me as this form that I am in this body, but to see me as you.
Yeah.
To see
and perhaps,
to see the realization as you.
Yes, because my guru mother Amma, who pictures just behind me, she does darshan as well. I think she's given darshan to something like 38 million people around the world. And it's slightly different. She gives a hug. She's called the hugging mother. And it's given in a hug, and it's felt very much in the heart. But the same idea is just a clear, absolutely clear, pure consciousness, pure love, and just feeling that just for a moment feels like all eternity, because it's going beyond time, beyond space, into our true essence, and that's what's being receptive. So it's a wonderful thing to do, and I know you people that you've been helping with that have said, you know, how amazing it is that something so simple can elicit change.
Because the truth is very simple. It's not complicated. Our minds make it complicated. The searching that we do makes it complicated. And that's something else I'd like to mention actually. With meditation, with any form of spiritual practice, it's also recognizing not to hold on to that form of spiritual practice, because then you can get lost in that form of practice. So then you forget why you're meditating, you forget the point of it, you know, you get attached to the idea of it. And awakening is about dropping all ideas about everything, about who you are, what life is, you know, what death is everything. It's about letting go of all of the conditioning that we've been given since we were born. And the
Mm,
moment that the separation happened, the conditioning started, was the moment that you were given your name, because it was in that moment that you then began to see yourself as separate from everything, from everyone, from all that is. And then as you grow up, those younger years, you're continuously called your name, and you continuously showed how to call everything else something around you. So you're naming everything and everyone, and all of a sudden everything has labels, all experience, all words, everything is words and labels and conditionings and ideas and beliefs. And then we lose this essence that we know when we're a baby, we are born free. We're born free.
yeah, yeah. So in a way, it's we start off life moving from oneness to separation,
Yes.
and then as we mature, and could say as we spiritually mature as well, and then we find, well, we're not finding our way back to the oneness. The oneness has always been there,
Yes.
but starting to feel it, notice it, be more expanded awareness that, oh yes,
Yeah.
it is
Remembering.
remembering, yeah, yeah. So that's the
Yeah.
journey, yes, from remembering to forgetting to remembering again. That's
Yeah.
really it, isn't it? Very simple.
Yeah. And then the only practice actually that we need is the remembering, moment to moment. That's
Mm,
it. And so it's not even about meditating or doing anything, because everything can be a moment to moment remembering,
yeah,
because it's when we are in presence, when we are fully present with whatever is right in front of us, that is the remembering.
mm, mm, yeah. Mm. Oh, wonderful. Well, I think that's a lovely place to finish. It's just simple and it's remembering.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Oh, well, thank you very much for your time today and for sharing that wisdom and your experiences. I think they're really fascinating, and people will gain a lot from hearing about what you've been through. So thank you for that. And we'll put
Thank
in
you.
we'll put a way of contacting you as well
Yeah, great.
in the writing. Yeah, yeah, fantastic. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you for this opportunity. It's
Uh,
a great thing that you're doing, and I look forward to seeing the other speakers too.
Right. Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.